Joining me now to discuss all this is Democratic Representative David Cicilline of Rhode Island. He is a member of the Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, thank you so much. You are pitching a way to bar Donald Trump from the presidency. Tell me about your plan, and realistically, does it have a shot?
So this is a resolution which is premised on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, where our founders said anyone who engaged in insurrection against the United States or aided and abetted such activity is disqualified from holding federal office. And then in Section 5, they explicitly say it's Congress's responsibility to enact legislation to enforce this provision. So it's very clear that someone who has engaged in the conduct by the former president is disqualified from holding federal office. We lay out in the resolution in about 30 pages in considerable detail what we've learned both during the impeachment investigation, during the January 6th hearing, and in public information about the president's involvement. So I think I expect we will have lots and lots of co-sponsors. We're circulating the resolution now, and I hope we will have a vote on it before we adjourn the Congress.
When you adjourn, the next Congress that takes over is going to be Republican-controlled in the House. Already they're talking about, promising really, to shut down any January 6th investigation and instead to investigate President Biden's son, Hunter. So where does the investigation into January 6th go? And what does it mean for your legislation vis-a-vis Trump and running for office? And I guess, sort of broadly speaking, what do you imagine the next 2 years to look like in the House?
Well, we don't have to imagine. Leader McCarthy and the Republican leadership in the House have already told us that they intend to consume the time with investigations and hearings. They ran on a campaign about addressing the high cost of goods and services, high cost of food and energy, and helping to rebuild the American economy. But of course, that was never their interest. In fact, we know that because they voted against everything that we passed that actually brings costs down. They're interested in using their 2 years as a way to set the stage for the return of Donald Trump. And so they're going to waste a lot of time. It's going to be our responsibility as Democrats to call it out. They're not allowed just to make stuff up and then get to investigate it. But I think they've already shown their hands. They've told the American people what they intend to do for the next 2 years. And it's not to focus on the issues that matter in people's lives, but instead to try to use their majority to investigate the president and his administration to set the stage for a Republican takeover of the White House.
Well, you sit on one of those relevant committees, Judiciary. Obviously, being in the minority sucks. I think we can objectively say that. What kind of role do you imagine playing as they launch these investigations, other than sort of screaming from the dais saying this is annoying?
Well, no, look, I mean, I served for my first 8 years in the minority. When I got elected to Congress, you still have to figure out ways to get things done. But I can tell you that all of the Democrats are prepared to push back hard on the sort of make-believe oversight and investigations that they've already signaled that they're going to undertake, and remind the American people what we're focused on, that despite what the Republicans are doing in the majority, we're going to continue to focus on making sure people have access to high-quality health care, making sure we protect Social Security and Medicare, making sure we continue to make investments to rebuild our economy and bring down costs of everything from food and energy. So, we ran at that in the midterms. We're going to continue to do that while fighting to protect our democracy and the freedoms that so many Americans have come to expect, like reproductive freedom and marriage equality. So we'll do our job and we'll draw the contrast. And I expect that we will then come into the majority again in 2024.
Now, Congressman, one of your focal points over the past couple of years has been anti-monopoly, especially with respect to the tech sector. Two developments that I want you to address here. One, Elon Musk takeover of Twitter. He is reinstating President Trump. Don't know if Trump will take him up on the offer. But the second one is Ticketmaster, which has bungled badly sales of Taylor Swift tours tickets. And she's even weighed in with criticism of it. Talk to me broadly about what's going on here. Is this all about sort of monopoly control of major companies that you think is the problem?
Absolutely. This is a transaction between Live Nation and Ticketmaster, which should never have been allowed to proceed. They control 80% of the tickets in the major concert venues. That's the monopoly. And exactly what you expect to happen with a monopoly has happened. And this isn't the first instance. There have been many where you have higher prices, lower quality of customer experience, and less compensation for the artists or the workers who are producing these concerts. And so they have used this monopoly power to do exactly what monopolies do: take advantage of workers, take advantage of customers, degrade quality, and raise prices. There is a consent decree entered into as a result of this transaction. I wrote a year ago to the Department of Justice to ask them to look at this again because of the anti-competitive behavior of the parties. I understand now from public reporting that they have reopened an investigation, but they should do one of two things: either impose additional conditions to restore real competition in this marketplace, or unwind this transaction so that no longer will customers be taken advantage of in this way and prices be outrageously high. So this is, again, a larger problem in our economy, this consolidation in many sectors of our economy, which results in less quality, less innovation, higher prices, less beneficial experiences for consumers. And we need to continue to take it on in a serious way.
Well, Congressman, if you could resolve this, you'd have the adoration of the Swifties. Might be enough for a presidential bid. I want to turn actually to a serious matter. You are one of a handful of openly gay members of Congress. This morning, we have tragic news of a shooting at a LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs. This is not the first shooting at a gay nightclub. Probably won't be the last. It happens in the midst of increased rhetoric, aggressive rhetoric towards trans members. We don't know the motive of the shooter, but what are your thoughts as you woke up to this morning?
Yeah, my thoughts are first with the families who lost loved ones and many who were injured. This is a horrific attack. It's really devastating for our community. Nightclubs are places that are safe places for members of the LGBTQ community. Often when members are struggling with their own sexual orientation or gender identity, and even within their own families, that's a safe and affirming place to be. And to have that shattered with this kind of violence is really, really disturbing. It's, I think, a result of, two things: this growing hatred and this sort of toxic environment, particularly with attacks against the trans community, coupled with easy access to firearms. And so we have to continue to do both things, that is, address the issue of gun violence in this country and push back hard and make sure that people understand that every single person, whatever your sexual orientation or gender identity, is entitled to respect and dignity and to live lives free from any discrimination or hate. We have a long way to go, and I call on all of the public officials who have used the LGBTQ community, and particularly the trans community, and their attacks on our community as some way to advance their political agenda, to stop it. This is the result of it. These kinds of things happen, and we need to send a message to all LGBTQ people, particularly trans kids, that they are valued and affirmed, and we have a responsibility to keep them safe.
Democratic Representative David Cicilline of Rhode Island, thank you especially for that last thought. Really appreciate it.